Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I am Ryan Wormeli, joined today by Andrew Erickson and Derek Brown, DBro back from feeling under the weather last week. This will be the trio you have most Thursday mornings as we run through some must-starts and must-sits each and every week. It is week 2. We have a week of football in the books. We're now just in the regular in-season mode here, fellas. We're going to start today with the must-sits for week 2. And guys, we are going to start at the running back position. So Erickson, who are your 3 must-sit running backs of week 2?
All right, we're going to start with Dalvin Cook. There's no Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson at quarterback. Tough matchup against Dallas. Split backfield with Breece Hall. Even though Dalvin Cook was the snap share leader, played 50% of the snaps in week 1. I mean, Breece Hall was the shining star of the backfield, racking up a ton of yardage. So I do expect this team to lean on the ground game. So I think Cook is going to see north of double-digit overall touches. But how valuable those will actually be, you're playing the league's best defense. I don't think he's going to score, which means Dalvin Cook is kind of in that RB3 territory with no bye weeks. I think that there's much better options. Very low upside play if you had to put him in your flex. I'm not starting Dalvin Cook. Deon Jackson for the Indianapolis Colts. He was the starting running back. You know, he was the opposite of volume is king. 71% of the snaps. Absolutely atrocious. 13 carries for 14 yards. Fumbled. 5 catches for 14 yards. He scored like 1 fantasy point and someone touched the ball like almost 20 times. I don't even know how that's possible, but he did it. Dead last in total rushing EPA. They're praying that Zach Moss is available. It's like, we need Zach Moss to save this backfield. He could potentially return. He's coming back from a broken arm. But I cannot, the Colts are going to do whatever they can to try to get away from using Deon Jackson, even if it means more rushing attempts for Anthony Richardson. So even though it is a technically good matchup against the Texans, want no part of Deon Jackson or really any of these Colts. I'd rather start Zach Moss, I'm being totally honest, if I had to pick between the two guys, if Moss is active. And lastly is Khalil Herbert. Only had 12 touches in week 1. There's not enough volume for him to get the job done. Now, I know that the Bears kind of used Roschon Johnson a lot in the third quarter. Is that a sign for things to come? I don't necessarily think so because, again, he didn't touch the ball until like the second half of the game. But I really want to see them give Herbert a little bit more volume before I feel confident starting him, especially in a tough match against the Buccaneers. Run defense, 2.4 yards per carry allowed, just 41 rushing yards allowed in week 1. So I think there are better options, especially with no bye weeks, like I said before, than Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, in that Bears backfield, did it, like, you know, obviously Roschon getting the touchdown. It was kind of a poor game overall for them, right? It was a poor game script just for the Bears in general. Does that weigh into you kind of evaluating how that backfield was used at all, or you're just kind of staying away from all those guys?
I mean, we knew it was going to kind of be somewhat of a committee. I just thought they would give Herbert, who was the starter still, and I thought looked fine, relatively speaking, just given the situation, and they just didn't really use him in the second half just because they were trying different things, and the game kind of got out of hand after Justin Fields threw a pick 6. So I don't think that Herbert has lost the starting job. People are saying that Roschon's going to take over in week 2, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because he didn't play again until the second half, but Herbert didn't do enough, I think, to like, okay, he's going to be the guy again in week 2. I think he's still going to be the guy, but how much is that actually going to translate into fantasy success? I'm not so sure.
I'm going to hit you with some one-on-one player comparisons here, Erickson, using the Who Should I Start tool. That's free to use at fantasypros.com/start. And any player comparisons we discuss throughout the rest of the show, we're going to be grabbing those numbers from the Who Should I Start tool. Dalvin Cook or A.J. Dillon, who are you starting this week?
I'm going to start A.J. Dillon because there's a chance that the Aaron Jones hamstring injury pops up again, and then A.J. Dillon can run into a bunch of carries. And I know that his efficiency was abysmal in week 1, but he still got a lot of red zone touches. He got stuffed at the goal line a couple times. It's just going to hurt his overall yards per carry. He was still getting decent red zone usage, even though it looked like Aaron Jones was like shot out of a cannon every time he touched the ball, which makes Dillon like look that much worse. I thought Dillon's final stat line wasn't really indicative of how he actually played.
Dillon only getting 43% of the vote on that one. Cook getting 57%. Deon Jackson or Zach Charbonnet?
I mean, how much did Zach Charbonnet even play? Like he wasn't really used that much.
These aren't supposed to be easy.
I mean, neither, man. I don't want to play either. Can I play a Ravens running back? Can I play Rashad Penny?
By the way,
the Eagles guy.
By the way, Charbonnet gets 60% of that. I'm going to ask you about a Ravens running back next. Khalil Herbert or Gus Edwards?
I would start Khalil Herbert in that situation.
Khalil Herbert's getting 43% of that vote. DBro, give me your running backs you are sitting this week.
Oh, this first one's going to be painful, but let's go. Let's peel the Band-Aid off. Cam Akers. Got to sit him. This all comes down to San Francisco, an elite run defense. I mean, we're talking about a run defense that last year, lowest explosive run rate allowed, 5th highest stuff rate. No, do not want any part of Cam Akers. Second guy, and we're going to sit here and go to a good offense. Isiah Pacheco. Do not want to start him this week. Cannot do it. Jacksonville allowed the 4th lowest yards per carry to zone runs. That's been Pacheco's bread and butter for Kansas City. And they allowed the 4th lowest missed tackle to allow rate. So, yeah, Pacheco's not going to go anywhere. So we're already seeing last week. It was oh, crap. Holy, CH got the first carry. What are we doing here? And then Pacheco, where's he at? Okay. Oh, he comes in. And he's not good. So I can't even put him in my lineup now. And the third guy that I got to bring up here is Brian Robinson. Fantastic matchup in week 1. What did he do? Scored a touchdown, saved his day. Past that, nothing, nada, zilch. And you're talking about now they go against the Denver Broncos, who this year, 4th in DVOA as far as a run defense goes, 4th lowest yards before contact per attempt. Brian Robinson couldn't get it done versus Arizona. It's going to be scary to see what he doesn't do versus the Denver Broncos.
I want to ask you a follow-up on Cam Akers, and sorry to make you talk about him some more.
Here we go.
22 carries for 29 yards. In a game they won by 2 scores. He did get the touchdown, of course. Actually, my math is off. They won that by 3 scores. Long term, I know that it's a bad matchup this week. Long term, what's your concern level on Akers?
How loud can we turn up the bells and whistles? How loud can we get this kicked up to here, Worm? What's past 11? It's just bad, man. Akers did not do anything in that game. Kyren Williams came out, got all the passing down work, ran all the routes, was actually a low-key really efficient as far as tackle breaking metrics go. And Akers, he even got out carried before they were salting the clock away. Yeah, I'm really concerned about Akers. It's bad news, man.
Quickly, are you excited about Kyren Williams? He only had 3.5 yards per carry. He got the 2 touchdowns, of course. He didn't actually catch any balls. So just very quickly, DBro, are you excited about him going forward, or is this just Cam Akers fading?
I think he's the best of bad options. I'll put it that way. So I'm not excited for either one.
Daryl Henderson 2.0. It's literally the exact same thing we saw happen last year. Oh my God, this guy, this Rams running back named Cam Akers starts, gets all the pass game work, and is not good. That's the concern. So I would, if I picked up Kyren Williams, I would try to sell him immediately as the RB1 because we're gonna look up next week and be like, oh, what do you know? Cam Akers played more snaps because Sean McVay just does this randomly.
Yeah. DBro, give me some player comparisons here. Cam Akers or Gus Edwards?
Woof.
Gus,
it's terrible. Gus? I'll go Gus.
Gus does get 78% of the vote on that, so the Who Should I Start tool is a little strongly feeling about that one. Isiah Pacheco or James Conner?
Oh, it's Conner. That's an easy one. Connor's going to get all the work. I'm not even worried about that.
Pacheco getting 56% of that vote. And then the last one here, Brian Robinson or Raheem Mostert?
Considering Raheem's dealing with a knee issue, I don't even know if he plays this week. So I guess I got to go with
assuming he plays, but
the healthy player.
Who could have seen this coming for Raheem Mostert, right?
But Mostert's getting 75% of that one. So that the consensus is there to be sitting Brian Robinson. Even with the injury issue, for all you fantasy players looking for something new, Fantasy Sports Evo offers a unique twist to daily fantasy sports. They offer a variety of contests where you select teams, not players, to build your fantasy lineup and compete for cash prizes. No need to worry about a player injury, ironically ruining your lineup. No sharks, Evo's single and limited entry contests help ensure fair play, no salary caps, select any teams you like, super easy, super fun, and for all sports fans. Teams are selected for specific scoring categories, and points accrue from individual player statistics for that category. Just choose your contest, pick your teams, and watch as your lineup climbs the leaderboard with our live scoring. Join Fantasy Sports Evo today and claim your 100% deposit match. Terms apply. Visit fantasysportsevo.com or download the app, which is available in both stores, and start winning today. Erickson, let's move to the must-sit wide receivers.
Well, I knew that DBro would not put this guy on his list because he loves him too much, but I have to just look at the facts, man. Not playing Drake London, man. I'm not doing it. Nowhere to be found in week 1. And, I mean, is he going to get... Who is he playing? Okay, the Green Bay Packers. Oh, we just saw them erase DJ Moore. 2 targets for DJ Moore, getting that Jair Alexander treatment in the secondary. Look, Darnell Mooney was the only productive receiver for the Bears, and all his production came from the slot. 4 catches for 53 yards and 1 touchdown on 6 slot targets. London ran 2 routes from the slot last week. 9% slot rate on a 91% route participation. It's going to be another bad week for Drake London, so keep him on your bench if he's not already been dropped, because it could get scary for Drake London. Next guy for me is Terry McLaurin for the Commanders. Just another bad cornerback matchup that I want to get away from, especially for McLaurin, who may or may not still be dealing with his turf toe injury. He was 4th on the team in targets in Sam Howell's first start of the season, and it's going to get Patrick Surtain. Like, Surtain didn't necessarily shut down Devontae Adams, but Adams is on another level than Terry McLaurin is. So I think that Surtain is going to have his way with McLaurin. If he's shadowing the number 1 wide receiver for the Commanders, I think it means a good thing for another Commanders receiver, but not for Terry. So I'm scared of Terry starting him in week 2. And last guy is Christian Kirk. Look, we got to wake up and smell the usage, baby, because it's not the same as it was last year with Christian Kirk. It is way different. He's coming off the field way more than he did at any point last year. 66% route participation as a full-time slot receiver. Zay Jones is playing more than Christian Kirk. Zay Jones is going to outscore Christian Kirk this season if they have the same roles for the rest of the year. So Christian Kirk, 5th in routes, 5th in targets among all Jaguars in week 1. He's getting less involvement than ETN and Evan Ingram. So with Ridley added to the fold here, we're like, this isn't going to change. I know we want to hold on to our priors with Kirk and how productive he was last year, but his role is different in this new offense with the new pieces involved. So again, outside of an occasional touchdown spiked week from Kirk, I don't think you're going to see a lot. Like, are we trying to get Tyler Boyd into our lineups? Like, that's what Christian Kirk has become. He's become Tyler Boyd. He's a slot receiver in a high-powered offense that you can always kind of make the argument, oh, well, he can catch a touchdown. He plays a good offense. Well, then why aren't you starting Tyler Boyd every week? Oh, wait, you're not. So Christian Kirk for me, not starting him.
Wake up and smell the usage is it's a good one, and also a tough one to tough pill to swallow. That would also apply to the first guy you mentioned, Drake London. Is this purely a matchup based thing, or are you basically we need to see it before I will ever start Drake London again?
Well, I think he's just going to be game script dependent. Like in games where the Falcons, like they're going to have to up the tempo. I mean, last week they didn't have to do that because it was the Panthers, so that's kind of like the worst of both worlds. When they don't have to throw the ball, like they won't. Like that's pretty clear. That's what they want to do is run the football. So again, they're playing the Packers. I'm not expecting Jordan Love to like push this Falcons team, and it's going to become problematic because the Falcons have a really easy schedule this year. So yeah, Drake London will have occasional spike weeks like every wide receiver does, but it's just not going to work into any type of consistency. And if you wait a week to see it, and then you put him in your lineup, maybe it's not the same kind of game script. So I'm concerned about London for sure, and especially specifically in this matchup where it's like so clear that it's not a good matchup. And look, last year we saw London have stretches where he was not productive, even as the alpha, weeks 4 through 12. He didn't have a game with more than 40 receiving yards. And maybe we we baked in his strong finish to the season too highly when Kyle Pitts wasn't playing. Kyle Pitts is back in the offense, and that's just another target that is taking away opportunities from Drake London.
DBro, very quickly before we get to our player comparisons here, as a Drake London stan through and through, what were your thoughts on his week 1?
I mean, look, I was expecting him to have a down week. I thought he was going to get shadowed by J.C. Horn, and then lo and behold, didn't matter because Arthur Smith was shadowing him. He came out and he said, look, I mean, we're just happy we got the W. We don't have to throw the ball. Drake London doesn't have to do anything. I'm happy. Drake London's happy. You're happy. No, nobody's happy, Arthur. Nobody at all. Drake's not happy. Kyle Pitts isn't happy. Bijan's not happy, considering you're giving the ball to Tyler Algier and he's scoring 2 touchdowns. None of us are happy, Arthur. We don't like it.
Fantasy's greatest supervillain, Arthur Smith. Erickson, Terry McLaurin, or Jordan Addison this week?
Addison. Easy.
Addison's getting 9%. McLaurin, 91% by the experts. I wonder if that will change as we get closer to game time. And then I'm going to put 2 of the guys you put in this section against each other, Drake London or Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, because at least I know his team's going to throw the ball. so again, like Kirk has a better chance of catching a touchdown than
Kirk is getting 64%. So not as lopsided of a vote, but he is the winner there. DBro, give me your must-sit wide receivers.
Well, being the Ravens homer, the resident one here, you'll love this first one, Worm. George Pickens. Cannot start him. I get Deontay is out, but you look at what George Pickens didn't do last week. I mean, no Deontay on the field. Allen Robinson's catching more passes than George Pickens, and all the Steelers fans don't want to hear it out of me, but George Pickens is not this hero that you think he is. Outside of great videos for a meme where he pushes down a cornerback that's not even looking at him when he's supposedly blocking. It's about the best thing George Pickens does these days. But past that, they're going against the Cleveland Browns. What happened to the Browns? Oh, that's right. They just shut down an actually good passing offense. And not just shut down, totally just rubbed them into the dirt. George Pickens is not going to do anything this week. I mean, Cleveland, 60 to 64% zone. George Pickens last year amongst 83 qualifying wide receivers against zone coverage. 66 in PFF receiving grade, 58th in yards per route run against zone coverage. Yeah, those are not good numbers. Do not play George Pickens. Brandin Cooks is the next guy I got to bring up here, and this just comes down to, again, Dallas is not going to be forced to throw the ball a ton. And Brandin Cooks now has picked up a knee injury. So whether he plays or he doesn't, I don't have a lot of interest in Brandin Cooks because the Jets corners play sides. So Michael Gallup's going to see a little bit more DJ Reed, a little bit over half of the game. What does that leave Brandin Cook? Well, Brandin Cooks is going to get all the sauce that he can handle, and it's not going to be good. So sit Brandin Cooks. Last guy I got to bring up, and we're just going to stay in the same game. You can drop all your Jets wide receivers outside of Garrett Wilson. If you got Garrett Wilson, do not start him. I mean, good Lord. We just saw what Dallas dismantled the Giants. What do we think they're going to do to Zach Wilson? He's going to be seeing ghosts before the first quarter even finishes. Garrett Wilson's going to be taking off his jersey and pulling an Antonio Brown and saying, forget all this mess, and running into the locker room because he's sick of looking at Zach Wilson's face. So it's going to be bad. Bad, Worm.
What do you say to people who drafted Wilson like in the early second round, for example, and he's just like so clearly the most talented guy that they would have to start in that spot?
I'm sorry. I mean, hope that the Jets wake up and Robert Saleh's like, because basically this is Robert Saleh's come out and said, well, this is Zach Wilson's team until they play the Cowboys, and then it's not Zach Wilson's team. You're hoping and praying that one of two things happens. They go trade for Jacoby Brissett. That would be a good move. Or heck, even hit speed dial, and you'll like this one, Worm. Even hit speed dial. I'll take Joe Flacco throwing him passes over
Elite.
Zach Wilson.
Bazooka Joe. Okay, well then I think I know your answer to this comparison. Garrett Wilson or
dear.
Amari Cooper.
Oh gosh, Amari Cooper. Easy.
Only getting 63% of the vote actually is Amari Cooper, but he is the winner there. Brandin Cooks or Nico Collins?
Oh, Nico with a bullet. Oh, Nico's going to have himself a week.
Nico's getting just 43%. Cooks is getting 57% of the vote.
That's
this is
crazy.
half PPR, by the way. I didn't mention that. These are all going to be in half PPR. And then Pickens or Cortland Sutton?
Sutton. Not even close.
Sutton is getting 18% of the vote, and Pickens 82%. That's another one that I wouldn't be surprised
ridiculous.
If that changes as we get closer to Sunday. Say goodbye to your own start-sit dilemmas with Fantasy Pros Start-Sit Assistant. Within seconds, you'll know exactly who to play for optimal results each week, leveraging insights from numerous experts. The Start-Sit Assistant aligns your lineup decisions with the top minds in fantasy football, giving you a competitive edge. Maximize your lineup's potential with just a few clicks. clicks. Head to fantasypros.com/myplaybook and make winning decisions in no time. We're going to clump the quarterback, tight end, defense, special teams kind of all together here in this section. So, Erickson, who are you sitting at QB, tight end, and DST?
To sit Dak Prescott. Again, talking about the Jets matchup, the total is absolutely gross at 38.5, even though most of the points are going to be scored by Dallas. Maybe their defense, like we saw on Sunday Night Football, there's no upside. Like, what are we expecting? Dak, he's not going to get pushed by the other team, and he's facing an elite defense. So I'm trying to figure out why start Dak Prescott. So I'm not starting him. For tight end, look, there was a lot of tight ends that saw really encouraging usage in week 1, and the one that didn't was Gerald Everett. It was horrible. 55% route participation is really bad. That ranked outside the top 25 at the position. He's splitting more time than I anticipated with Donald Parham, and it just kind of rubs salt in my wound. It was Donald Parham that scored the touchdown in week 1 and not Gerald Everett. So you're just praying for a touchdown from Everett. But again, it's another gross game with the Titans just trying to make the Chargers play through the dirt and the mud, and just not something I want a part of. So Everett's not playing in the shootout necessarily. So I try to get away. If I would drop him for really any of these waiver wire tight ends, some of these rookies, I think they're better options. And then lastly, the Jaguars. People drafted them because they were playing the Colts week 1. They were fine in week 1. Playing the Chiefs in week 2. Don't play them. That's just you got them for week 1. Move on. I know I drafted them in a couple different spots, so just make sure you don't leave them in there and be like, oh yeah, they were good last week. It's like, not this week. Like, don't play them against the Chiefs, even though they're at home. There are better DSTs out there you can stream.
If Kelsey doesn't
Don't care.
Okay.
Don't care.
Still Mahomes.
Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy this week?
Brock Purdy. Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Purdy's getting 69% of the vote. Prescott just 31%.
Nice.
DBro, give me your QB, tight end, DST.
Gotta sit Kenny Pickett. I just gave a lot of George Pickens hate here, but again, this goes back to we just saw what Cleveland just dismantled the Cincinnati Bengals. Kenny Pickett just already got dismantled. I don't know what's left of that man to take apart, but whatever the 49ers left over, the Browns going to take care of the rest. So you got to sit him. Hayden Hurst is the next guy. I've said this for years and years and years. Do not play tight ends versus the Saints. It is a no-fly zone for tight ends. I don't care if Hayden Hurst is going to get an 18% target share. He's not going to do anything versus the Saints. They're one of only 2 teams that walked out of week 1 giving up nothing. 0 receiving yards. Ask Chigakonkwo how it was to sit here and play the New Orleans Saints in week 1. Not good. So sit Hayden Hurst. Last has got to be Seattle. Their defense was terrible. I mean, Stafford and Puka Juice just tore them apart, man. So there's no way. I was really hopeful about Seattle Seahawks defense entering this season. I know Devon Witherspoon has been banged up. He didn't play, but the rest of that defense looked dreadful last week. So, yeah, going against the Detroit Lions, got to sit them. Can't play them.
We've mentioned the Browns defense a couple of times. Are they a defense that you will be actively avoiding just based on this first week? Like the top 3 there in terms of like Dallas and San Francisco and the Jets are so like entrenched as like these are the elite defenses, but it really looked like the Browns should be in that same, maybe if not the same tier, at least leading the tier behind them, right?
No, absolutely. Big agree. I mean, Jim Schwartz, you go and trace all of his defenses, and there's certain things. One, they're going to use a lot of man coverage. Their cornerback room is extremely good, and they're going to stop the run. An absolutely remade defensive line. Now, we didn't see that a whole lot in week 1. I know Mixon had a long run and stuff like that. But as they go through the season, this Cleveland Browns defense is going to be nasty.
Yeah, they looked good enough to the point where if Deshaun Watson is even slightly above average, that's a clear, maybe not the division favorite because it's such a strong division, but one of the division favorites in the AFC North. Quick player comp here: Hayden Hurst or Dalton Schultz.
Oh, Schultz. Give me Schultz.
Schultz is getting 64% of the vote. That is it for our must-sit show. Stick around. Later today, we're bringing you the must-start show as well for DBro and Erickson. Oh, yeah, by the way, go check out Fantasy Sports Evo. Fun opportunities there. Use the Start-Sit Assistant to get your lineup dilemmas sorted through. For DBro and Erickson, I am Ryan Wormeli, and we'll be back later today.